Hello and welcome to this video tutorial series on Atlassian JIRA. Specifically, we're going to be focusing on how to administer and configure JIRA, and in this series of 6 videos I'll be discussing firstly what is JIRA and why should you use it, how to set up your free JIRA on-demand trial via the Atlassian website. Secondly, I'll be discussing in the second video how to set up the basic JIRA environment, so the top level settings, and also things like how to set up your color schemes and logos and that sort of thing. Okay. In the third video, we'll start to look into how do you set up a project. This is where it starts to get interesting. But in this case, we'll just create a very basic project using all the defaults, and then I'll talk you through what the defaults mean and what you get. Next up is how do you set up fields and screens. So the ability to bespoke these gives you a lot of power in determining what data you need to capture from users for a specific issue. So if there's, for example, a bug, which might be a common use case, you would want to be able to say, well, actually I need to know, for example, what version they're using or what environment they're using, and so on and so forth. Okay. Right. The next video will discuss how do you create users, how do you create groups that users belong to, how do you set up email notification schemes. So specifically, if you're, let's say, wanting to notify people when an issue is created so that they know that there's some work to do, you can define it there. Similar to that is also permissions. So each project has a permission scheme, and this can determine who can create issues, who can update issues, who can add comments, who can add attachments, and various other factors. It's really quite powerful and very useful. Finally, we'll be discussing how do you set up a custom workflow. Okay, a workflow becomes relevant once the ticket has been created. Basically, it determines what options are available to what users. So, for example, as the reporter, I might be able to close an issue. As another user, I might be able to say I'm working on an issue or I've picked up an issue, and so on and so forth. Yep, very simple, but also quite creative and fun, so stick around. Next up, a little bit about me. So I used to work for a major e-commerce retailer. I won't tell you which one, but they're quite big, and I helped them set up their JIRA system. So from no users and no tickets, what we ended up with was a system where there were hundreds of users across many teams and thousands of systems, thousands of tickets rather. So yeah, hopefully I should be able to share some insights as we go along. Okay, right, what is JIRA? To put it simply, JIRA is a web-based issue tracking tool. Web-based is important because it means that anybody from anywhere in the world can log in and see the issues that are currently raised or create their own ones. Okay, this means that if you've got a team in, I don't know, Tajikistan and Peru and Cambodia, they can all collaborate and work towards similar goals. Okay. Next up, tickets are raised inside projects by those with the create issue permission, of course, and then they're associated with a specific issue type, such as bug, or an issue, or an enhancement, or a query. Okay. Next up, once a ticket has been created, they can be worked on by users with permissions and reassigned, resolved, and closed. Yep. Or reopened, or any other transition that you've defined in the workflow. Yep. Okay, next up, the search feature in JIRA. This is really great and really powerful tool. Essentially, every field, or virtually every field, can be queried. So you can look at things like when it was updated, who it was raised by, who the current assignee is, and so on and so forth. So I find that really useful and well worth your time. Once you've created a search result, you can save that as a filter, and then you can put the filter results onto a dashboard. So in this example, you have something. This is a bespoke gadget, but for the purposes of this video, if you look at the assign to me gadget, you could essentially do that through a filter. So you would say issues that are currently assigned to me and let's say unresolved. Okay, that way you guarantee that you're getting all the relevant data to yourself or to your users in the best possible way. Okay. Next up, why use JIRA and who uses JIRA? Well, the main use, of course, is software development. Once the scope of work has been defined, the work pieces are raised as tickets by project managers. So essentially, a project manager goes ahead and says, I need this, this, and this done, and they might be parent tickets underneath which subtasks could exist. Okay. Next up, developers pick up the tickets, they then set to work on them, and then when they're done, they pass them off for testing. At that stage, a tester would come along, check them out, do their tests, and then say, okay, I'm happy with that, that's accepted, and that ticket can be closed or deployed or whatever your next status is. Or they can say, actually, it needs to go back to the developers for further work. And then if all is well, the ticket can be closed by the issue reporter. So in JIRA, there is very much an individual based system. So an individual reports an issue and an individual picks up the issue and resolves it. Okay, cool. Next up we have, well, I should also add that at all times the project manager and anybody else can see exactly the status of an issue and exactly the status of a project using the dashboard, using Greenhopper, using any of the other gadgets which will give you essentially you can have like pie charts and various other interactive uh, visual aids to help PMs see exactly where they stand. Okay. Like I said, Greenhopper allows issues, so it's very good for project managers because it allows issues to be based off filters all on a rapid board. Rapid board essentially is a series of columns which are your steps from open, in progress, resolved, and closed, and then you have the ability to drag and drop issues between those using Greenhopper. So I'd strongly suggest for project managers it's a great tool. For regular users though, not essential, so we won't be covering this in this particular tutorial series, but it is worth looking into. Okay. Other uses, a bit ancillary, but we'll cover them anyway. A customer services or help desk tool. So agents can raise tickets which are then dealt with by a relevant resolving team. So a customer phones up, I have a problem, the agent can't deal with it then and there, so they raise a ticket and then someone will come along from the team who can resolve it and close it down. Okay, next up. There are other uses such as a CRM tool, so that's a client relationship management tool. Yeah, I generally wouldn't advocate that. I also wouldn't advocate it as a knowledge repository either, because I think in that case, Confluence, which is another tool that Atlassian produce, which is essentially a shared wiki similar to Wikipedia, is preferable. But you can adapt the tool, but I would always suggest if you're trying to use it for very extreme cases, check that there's not a better tool available. Okay. JIRA can be extended in many different ways. There's application links, which can be, so for example, it can connect to Confluence or something or a similar web program, and either import data or have data imported into the other system. Jelly scripts can be used to automate repetitive tasks, and also plugins can greatly extend the functionality of the tool. Okay. Right, so this is the end of the PowerPoint, if you like. Some of you will be saying, thank goodness. What we're going to do now is have a look at the actual online resources you can get, and we'll get on to how to actually set up your free trial. Okay. Okay, so next up what we want to cover is the resources available to you from Atlassian. Atlassian produce a lot of help. This is a example, the Confluence website with the Atlassian documentation. The JIRA Administrator's Guide is an invaluable resource. Okay, I've used it many times and it's really well written, and I'd strongly advise if you ever get stuck taking a look at it. Okay. Another source of help is the Answers website. I haven't used this personally, but as you can see, people go through, write out questions that they have, and then the community is quite active and gets back to them with answers. Obviously, Also, there's Google. So if you ever get error messages, I'd strongly advise chucking them into Google and seeing what results you get. Okay. There's also the Atlassian support website. So I'm not currently logged in here, but essentially what you can do if you're within the support period, if you bought JIRA, you're entitled to raise any issues with Atlassian through their JIRA system, and they'll reply to you and help you get your problem solved. Okay. So let's get on to the big guns, getting started with your free trial. So what you want to do, navigate to Atlassian.com, click on Try, okay? Once you click on Try, click on Try Now, okay, under JIRA. Once you've done that, click on Start My Free Trial for On Demand. We'll use On Demand because it's easier, okay? That way you don't have to set up your own server, so perfect for learning, okay? Once you've done that, you will be presented with this screen. Okay, for the sake of the tutorial, 10 users should be sufficient, and then click on Next, okay? Next up, you'll be asked to fill in this complicated form, but persevere with it, okay? And once you've done it, I should say you'll also be asked to create an example address. So I literally did use example.atlassian.net, okay? So fill out all of the fields, click on Start Trial. It will take about 10 minutes, and then you should be able to access the instance you've created, put in your username and password, and click on Login, and you're done. Okay. Any problems, you can use the Unable to Access Your Account link to recover your username or password. Okay. And that's all there is to it. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video.